This video is a bit of an afterthought, following the previous one where I did the first full edit of a photo with Darktable. And in this video, I do the same edit. Well, I take the same photo and do a similar edit with Capture One, the latest version, and Lightroom, which is also the latest version as of today. And the aim of this is to show the differences in approach when editing the photos. And at the end, I will stack the three photos in affinity and we'll take a good look at the differences in output between the three photos. There we are. I hope you enjoy this and I hope you find some use in it. I'm Nicholas and let's go. This video starts where we left the previous one. That is with the full edit of this photo in Darktable. Now I've come back to Darktable just so we can have a look, an analysis of the photo with the channels that are clipped. I made a snapshot of this. You can see that in the bright sunlight we have the red channel that's clipped and we have the blue. Now I suspect usually the clipping, if I remember rightly, goes red goes first, then green, and lastly blue, usually. Don't quote me on this. I suspect that green and blue have clipped in this very defined shape here, just where the sun was setting behind the church. So this will be extremely useful when we go to Capture One and to Lightroom, because we don't have this kind of graph with those software. So we can have an idea of what's happening and try and understand if there are any problems, where they come from. Let's jump into Capture One first. Here we are then in Capture One with exactly the same raw file. Now let's go into the annotations and have a look at the tasks ahead. First of all, we have this perspective, rotation, perspective to sort out. That's one. Next, we have the white balance because, well, that needs doing anyway. So let's write that down here, white balance, because it was a sunset and we want something nice and warm. Then we have a problem area here. It's the overexposed sun. And we also have all these areas here which are problematic because there's no detail. So we have the dark areas. And finally, I'd like to keep some details here in the sky. Details in the sky. So that's the task ahead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps. I'll go a little bit quicker than what I usually do with Darktable, because I presume that most of you are familiar with editing a photo in a not scene referred, display referred workflow like Capture One or Lightroom. Let's start then with the color balance. Color balance will be taken straight from the same spot as in Darktable, which was here in the area next to the window. That was the wall. Okay, so that's done. And the next thing I'd like to sort out quickly is the perspective. So we'll go into this tab here, and we have an auto perspective now in Capture One 22. Doesn't want to do that. Let's try rotation and flip. Maybe that's okay. And if we want to get the verticals a little bit more vertical, but I can't see much there. So what I'm going to do is just up the brightness a bit here, just temporarily. I can see what I'm doing. And the vertical lines, you see here, we have the vertical shift now. So vertical shift, okay, let's not overdo it. Just a little bit. And rotation. But the problem is if I rotate now, the vertical shift is gone. There. Okay, something like that. It's not too far. Don't spend half an hour. We have got a nice vertical church there with the sun set behind it. Now let's go back to the tab with the exposure. Let's reset the brightness. And usually what I do is I make a new filled adjustment layer, which I'll double click on and call global, which enables me to do changes that are reversible just by switching on and off the layer. So the mask here, because I'm M, the mask, you notice my masks are magenta because I can see them better. So if I up the brightness a little bit, which is roughly the same as going into the curve, the lunar curve, and moving up the curve. What it does is it enables you to adjust the midtones without touching the white or the black point. We'll try and get some detail back in the highlights as much as we can without getting weird artifacts. If I have a look here, you got the numbers. The numbers are crunched up there. Look, 249. So I'm nearly at 100% luminosity. 248, 249. So that is about the best as I'll get. Notice that the areas that are overexposed in the raw file, the well, I showed you in at the beginning with Darktable, the clipped areas in the raw file are absolute white. They've lost the colour, and that is the problem area with the sun that we'll have to deal with. For the rest, well, I want to get the houses right. I'm going to deal with the dark areas separately, maybe after. So maybe a little bit in the houses. I don't want too much because I want to get the feel of a backlit photo. I don't want to touch clarity or structure. I don't particularly want to dehaze because you get weird things happening around the church here. I don't like very much. I'm going to pretty much leave most things alone and just concentrate on the few tasks that I set myself at the beginning. So that is the global image looking okay. And now let's try and see what we can do with this sun. So the aim is to get some yellow colour back into the sun. It was a setting sun. It was yellow. It wasn't white. It's only white because in computer terms, when something is too bright, then it desaturates to maximum values of luminosity 255, 255, 255 in red, green, and blue channels, and then there's nothing left. So let's make one empty adjustment layer, which I will double click on, called sun. I'll get a brush, press on M to see the mask. Maybe something like that. I'll go over it very roughly, and then maybe use a luma range on this mask to just get, what I want to do is just keep, you can see the areas there that are white. I just want to select those. So everything that's overexposed, nearly there you see. I don't want to recolor the rest very much because otherwise I'm going to change colors in something that's already been well, where the highlights have already been modified, where colour has come back into the highlights. If that makes any sense to see some areas that have been recoloured here, and if I recolour them twice, I might get some artifacts. That doesn't look too bad. Now, what can I do with overexposed light? It's white. So you'll notice that if I go to the Advanced Colour tab and pick an area here, I'm in the very bright yellows, and you'd think I need to reduce the lightness, but I'm not actually reducing the lightness in the whites. I'm actually reducing the lightness around. Shift the hue. I'm actually not touching the lights very much. If I oversaturate, the problem is that some of the areas go strange yellow, and the areas I want to affect are not, because I'm adding colour. I'm already at nearly at 250. So what am I adding? Well, I'm not adding much because I'm already near the very, very bright whites. So this tool, unfortunately, is not the correct one. At least I can't see how I do it. The solution I found was actually white balance, where I can actually add quite a lot of warmth. And these colours now, I do gain a bit, you see, because it's lowered the blues. That's what it's actually essentially doing. And if it's lowering the blues, which is the opposite of adding yellow, then I've got some yellow back. Now, there's not much else I can do, you see, in terms of saturation. It's not going to change much. I don't particularly want to change the areas around. So I think I have to leave it somewhere like that. Changing highlights, but I can add it, lose that again. Unfortunately, there's not much I can do. It's more satisfying. It's better. It's better. So we'll leave it like that. Now, if we go back to the list of what we had to do, overexposed sun, done. Perspective, done. White balance, done. Let's see the dark areas. Let's on HD rid of that. Dark areas. I will make a new empty adjustment layer. I'll call it what? Walls, the dark areas. This essentially this wall here. Now this is where the masking tools in Capture One fall short of what there is in Lightroom and in Darktable, because you can't have a gradient and a brush interacting with each other. You can't do intersections of masks. It's very difficult to select an area. So I'm doing this with the brush. Now you can do straight lines with, I think it's Shift. Is it Shift? Yeah, Shift. So you can do straight lines. Okay, well, that doesn't really matter. What I want to do, you see, is affect the area. Let's see, it's down here on the right. So what I can do is right-click, fill mask. So it's gone round. What I want to do is I want to soften it here so it kind of falls off naturally. Now I can use a Luma range, kind of make it fall off a little bit in the highlights, but that's not really good enough. Now the only solution I've found is to get a brush with kind of a lower opacity, and I've linked the eraser and the brush together. I've link eraser with brush, so whatever I do to the eraser I do to the brush, and kind of make my own gradient and just sort yourself out. And I've got a lag, you see, it's not helping. Yeah. Now maybe I can put brush back and make it a bit bigger just to use the softness. I don't know. I don't want to see anything happening where I'd have a strange transition between the areas that are brightened and the ones that haven't. So I'm afraid I'll have to leave it at that. Now I do have a piece sticking out here. And maybe I can eliminate that. I want to put the flow back, the opacity, sorry, back to 100. And eliminate that. Now it's a bit difficult to do precisely. As I'm not doing much, the adjustments I'm going to make are very small. I probably won't see any artifact appearing. What I want to do is adjust the shadows a little bit, not too much. Now, if I add contrast, I'm actually darkening. That's interesting. I know why. It's because contrast will darken areas that are less than 50% brightness and brighten the others. So what you can do is do a little bit too much in these dark areas. If I add contrast, it's like an opacity slider on this area, affecting more the darker areas than the bright ones. There's not much over 50%, so there's not much being brightened. And here I have before and after. Now be careful not to overdo this. I think that is a little bit overdone. There's always the opacity I can use there, and I can also add a bit of clarity, which will give a little bit of local contrast. It's more kind of detail in there. Okay, so we'll leave that like that. That's not too bad. I have details. I can see everything. This area here, which is in full shadow because the sun is right behind, I don't want to touch that at all, just to keep it natural. Now then, for the sky, I really want to affect the top area of the sky where there are some clouds there to try and bring them out. And I don't really want to touch that to the rest of it too much. What I could do is on the global layer, maybe add just a little touch of saturation. Now to make it, that's quite a lot actually, just to make it more kind of sunsetty. No, so that's too much. It's easy to overdo saturation. There. Okay, so before and after. big change. So new adjustment layer, which we will call the sky. Now the sky, essentially I want to affect the top part without the buildings. I want it to fall off quite nicely. You'd think gradient would be a good idea here. So gradient, press M to see what I'm doing. It doesn't really matter if it's affecting kind of a little bit of the top there. Press on shift to get it perfectly horizontal. Look, press on shift. While I'm moving it, it puts it perfectly horizontal. Now I want to get rid of everything that's on the houses, so I think the Luma range might help there. Let's keep everything that's bright and remove the dark areas. You always go a little bit too far and then come back. And that will ensure that you get a nice roll off in the luminosity range. Okay, to get rid of that. And now I want some punchiness. And I've lost the blue in the sky there too. So maybe I could cool off. There's one way of getting blue back. That's a little bit different. Look, before and after. You don't want to overdo it too much. Maybe clarity. But the problem with clarity is that you always risk having a halo. I don't like halos. And I do get a little bit of a halo there. It's not actually too bad. I could leave a little bit of clarity. I'll bring that down. What I can do for local contrast, because that's what clarity is use the curve for that. If I have a look where I am on the curve, you can see there's an orange line, which tells me where I am in the clouds here. And I'm in the top part of that curve, just above the bump. So what I could do is put a few control points around the area and try and adjust the curve very slightly. Just the top area. And then just to get some effects there. Now, I press on Option. This is just before and after the curve. I'm going on and off. On and off. So that's given me a little bit of extra local contrast without there you're certain not to get any halo effect. So I think it's better than a slider. Maybe add some structure, which gives some very fine local contrast. Structure is the finest local contrast possible, which makes the clouds a little bit more wispy. And there we are for that. So what have we done? Let's go to the annotations. Details done, dark areas done. Okay, well this photo is finished. Okay, so I'll export that one and let's go into Lightroom. So here we are in Lightroom with the exact same raw file. So let's try and do the same thing in roughly the same order. I'm going to add a little bit of information there, just boost the shadows just so I can see what I'm doing. We could do white balance straight away, that's quick to do. We've taken it in Darktable and in Capture One on this part of the wall. So if we want to compare the colours, then maybe it's a good idea to do it in the same place. And I want to get the perspective right. So I'll go down, down, down to the transform tools. Now, there are some nice automatic tools we can try. Full, guided, auto and off. Auto is not bad. Vertical, auto, vertical, auto. Well, I think the church is straight on auto, so we'll just keep that on automatic. Now let's try and have a look at this sun, the highlight area. Now I'm going to keep the shadows there kind of for the moment, and we'll try and do global adjustments. Now you can't do layers, so I can't have a global adjustment layer like I just did in Capture One. So, well, I could make a layer that's completely filled and do the same thing, but it's not the same tools when you're making selections. So I'll do this on the main layer. If I lower the highlights, you can see what's happening. The highlights actually go very dim, far too dim. This highlight tool is kind of gives you a lot of leeway on the brightness. What I want to do is keep the overexposed areas bright enough. I don't want them to be too dark. Now you can see underneath the histogram the percentage of brightness. So I'm about 92, 93. Now there's no point in actually going kind of too low, because that means I'm artificially darkening the rest of the image. I don't particularly like that. So maybe that's enough for highlights. If the rest is too dark, then I can use a curve. Maybe move the lights and the dark. So what I'm doing is doing what I did in Capture One, just making a nice curve here. And you can change the shape of the curve by moving these sliders here, which gives you a bit more leeway in what you're doing with the different areas. Now that is very, very bright, and so maybe I can just darken the overall exposure. Not to get something that's kind of acceptable in terms of brightness overall. Now I find that the shadows, I think the shadow are changed. I don't see anything like that. Let's keep exposure to 0. I think I actually do better not to move the lights, not the highlights, but maybe the darks and the shadows up a bit. Yeah. Okay. I don't want to move the lights because it's changing the sky. Not easy to do, not easy. Okay, move back a bit, leave it like that maybe. Now, I think that is acceptable. I think that's acceptable. Let's see what we can do with the sun. Now, selections now in Lightroom are here. Make a selection. I'd like to choose the overexposed parts of the sun and try and give them some colour. Let's have a brush and just kind of colour over there. Okay, and here, so let's call this mask the sun. Just double click on it. I'll do an intersection with a luminance range and try and get rid of everything that's around. The luminance ranges are here. Let's get rid of everything that is dark. And this is where you'll see I'm at maximum here. I have a problem. I can't actually go further than that in luminance. So I have to try and find something else to kind of eliminate the areas that are not kind of too overexposed. I'll try an intersection with the colour range. And to do that, you actually use the picker and you pick an area. And that works not too badly actually. And I can make it kind of a bit bigger. That's not too bad, I think. It's on O, filling most of the very overexposed white areas. And I'll try and give some more colour back to those. Now, let's now get rid of that. The tools in selection mode here are not the same as for the global layer, but I could try the same trick as in Capture One and just add some warmth by temperature. And I'll notice that it actually doesn't. In blues it goes awful, and in yellows it doesn't change anything. It's on the Z to get the zoom. Sorry, that's a bit too much. 100%, 50% there. Not in the develop anymore. Yes, I am now. Selection, the sun, and let's have a look what I selected. Sun. There. So before and after, not much. When it was at 0, that's what I had. Okay, so that doesn't work. Adding saturation won't work because adding saturation adds more to the photo where I want to kind of just change the colours. So that's not going to do anything. Same as in Capture One. There's a colour tab here where I can add colour. The overlay keeps on coming back. click on it. I don't know why it comes back. But if I try and add a colour, then you'll notice you can see some green there, see some red, see some yellow, a little bit, like some saturation. It honestly doesn't do much, does it? That's the best I can get it. It's not doing much. If I bring down the highlights, I'm going to go to grey, or now it's not grey, it's kind of this horrible murky brown thing. That's useless. I mean, all this is just on luminosity. So when you bring a yellow, the luminosity of a yellow down, it goes brown. So that's the most I can do there, which is a bit disappointing. I have to say that's something. Okay, single click there. And now let's do the shadow areas. Now, you know, I'm not pretending to be an expert in photo editing. I'm not an expert in Lightroom Capture One or Darktable for that matter, but I do have a bit of experience with all three. If you have ideas of what I could have done in any parts of this photo with any kind of software, please mention that in the comments below. We're all here to learn together. Let's try now for some, what did I say, the dark areas. Well, the dark areas with the actual shadow adjustments I made are not too bad. Let's demonstrate, however, what you can do with the selections in Lightroom. So what I can do is have a brush. Let's choose the area. I'm just going to go past the area I want to select. Now, I don't think there's an automatic way to fill the mask as in Capture One. And the idea is to overshoot what you want and then intersect. I'll rename that. I'll call it walls. Oh, walls, dollar. Oh, I've got a dollar now, never mind. Intersect mask with a linear gradient. And there you see the areas I've chosen. Now I can actually just have a nice fall off there. And I have a spot up here. So now I need the brush. I want to add, to open this and subtract a brush. Now, it wasn't too difficult. So now I have the walls. I can actually play around with those. So add a bit of shadow. Contrast will darken, remember. A bit of clarity to lighten them up. Dehaze will darken. That's pretty much what I wanted actually. Not to go too far. It's actually quite a lot. There's a halo above there, so I could also intersect with a luminance range. Get over the overlay. And let's get rid of everything that's too dark. And then fade. Get rid of everything that's too dark so I don't go onto the house. And fade this out. Why is it not fading out? There. I was going the wrong way. Wrong slider. Trying to pick up the wrong one. There, that should be okay. And now I don't get any artifacts kind of brightening in this part of the house there. And maybe then I could actually darken the photo a little bit. The shadows anyway, so I don't over brighten the houses there. So that is the walls scene 2. Let's do the sky. Now for the sky, let's have another selection. Create new mask, linear gradient. Okay, that one sounds kind of obvious. With obviously what we wanted is the horizontal. That one won't go horizontal, so I'll destroy that one. Have another linear gradient. Just press on Shift from the beginning. Now it's horizontal. Okay. And we want to get rid of the rest. So let's intersect with a selection of the sky. Might as well use what we call the AI. So that selects the sky. It's done a relatively good job, but it has taken some of the parts of the roof there. I'm going to intersect with a luminance range and just get rid of parts of the roof there. You can see that disappearing. Let's see if I haven't got rid of anything else. Now that's more or less okay for the sky. Press O to get rid of the overlay, and we said we want it to be a little bit bluer. Make that blue, saturation. We can just add a little tinge of blue, and we said we wanted some fine texture, maybe clarity. Now the problem with clarity, I've got some halo here. I don't have the curves adjustment, so I can't really do anything about that. If I've gone too far on the blue, we can blend that in maybe a little bit better by moving the colour temperature up a bit. And so sky before and after, just a little lift. Now, just a little lift in detail. Okay, so that's done. Let's close that, export it maybe, and compare what we've done with the 3 different apps. Now, one thing I did in the 2 other apps that I haven't done yet, sorry, I forgot, is to add a bit of, just a little bit of saturation. Oh, so nice. Now, that sun goes strange very quickly. Maybe vibrance. Okay, just want a nice warm feel. I really ought to exclude all that area. In the centre here, that's going a bit awful. On the rest of the photo is not too bad. Well, that is a real problem area in the centre there. Okay, I don't dare go further than that. So I'm going to export it in a TIFF and then load them all up into Affinity Photo. So here we are in Affinity Photo. I exported the photos in a TIFF format. So it's full resolution, 100 megapixel camera. So we have 100 megapixels on each layer. You notice I did no sharpening, no noise reduction in any of the 3 photos. So we have on the screen here, visible now, is the Lightroom layer, on the right. Underneath, we have, that's been dual selected, sorry. Come back. Okay, a bit slow computer there. So, sorry, start again. Lightroom. Next one is Capture One. Capture One is that one. And Darktable is this one. So Darktable, Capture One, Lightroom. So I'm not here to judge and say which is better. I think that's up to everyone to try out the tools and see the results. What I can say is Darktable is free and open source, whereas Capture One and Lightroom are proprietary, privately owned software that you have to pay for. The results are different. They're different in the way the perspective has been done. The colours are different. The feel, the look of the photo is different. And that is up to everyone to kind of judge. So I'm going between Lightroom here and Capture One, Lightroom, Capture One, Lightroom, Capture One. I can do Lightroom, Darktable. A bit more resemblant in the way that the perspective was done, but the colours are very different. And we can do Capture One here and Darktable, so there's a bit of a shift. Now, obviously, when you're editing photos, you cannot do exactly the same thing because I don't control screen tab. I think I'm doing the same thing, but really I'm not. So that's up to you to see which you actually prefer the look of. And what I can do now is zoom in to 100%. Now I'm at 100% here. I think I'll go further actually to see this. Okay, let's go to 400%. 400%, this is the Lightroom child, so no noise reduction, no sharpening. When I say that, the only software that doesn't do noise reduction and sharpening is Darktable. because there is none. I did none. Capture One, I did nothing, so it's standard. It's the automatic noise reduction and sharpening that has been applied, and Lightroom 2. So this is the Lightroom version. Capture One, oh, it's a bit further over there. Now see if I can move the layer. Can I move the layer? Which is it? Move layers here. There, so they won't be aligned anymore unless I'm doing something wrong. Not quite sure what I'm doing actually. I want to move a layer. Not sure, I'm just moving the whole picture. Never mind, so I'm not very proficient with these pieces of software. Sorry about that. I really ought to learn. Anyway, Lightroom, I'll just move them. I'll move the screen around. There they are. Capture One, which looks much cleaner, much whiter. It's less noisy. Got quite a lot of dribbly noise there, kind of. I don't know what to call it. Anyway, just let you see that. The writing is readable in both cases. You can clearly read the number 502122. You can clearly read it here. Königsbrugg, it's the bus. You can read the numbers. You can't read what's underneath. So that's Lightroom and Darktable. And now we have no, Lightroom's trying Capture One, and this is Darktable, where you can read the numbers. And well, there we are. Maybe it's a little bit closer. I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm just showing you so you can make your own conclusions whether one is over sharpened, over denoised or not. That is up to you to say. What I can say is that the text of 400% is readable on all three of the software. So I think that's the main thing I want to say. Okay, so I will leave this video accessible on the pixel.us forum, and you can download it and play with it. You can even post your edits with Darktable. Please do not post any edits with Lightroom Capture One, because the pixel.us forum is made for free and open source software. But you can please take the photo and try and do better than me by all means. So there we are. That was a quick comparison between the three competitors, if you can call them like that. And I'll stop the video here, and I'll see you soon.